After dating my childhood friend, Christopher Evans, for only a month, I stumbled across a post on Instagram that made my blood run cold. The post was written by a girl named Olivia Harris, a transfer student who had quietly slipped into our world. She wrote about how Christopher's parents adored his childhood friend, which of course was me, and then she posed a question to her followers. Was there a way to break us apart? The top comment, written by Olivia herself, carried an air of smug certainty. She declared that Christopher and I were never anything serious, that we had only been skirting around each other, too timid to break through that fragile layer between friendship and something more. According to her, she was the one who truly had his heart. Christopher had told me so many times that he wanted to stay close to me. He had even changed his college application preferences just to be near me, adjusting his major so that we could study at the same university. He once laughed and said that dating Olivia had been nothing but a test, a passing curiosity, something he never thought would last. He insisted they were incompatible. But then I saw the picture Olivia attached to her post, and my heart froze. The image showed two pairs of sneakers placed side by side. Each shoe had a little dragon painted across its surface, the tiny dragons leaning toward one another to form the shape of a heart. I stared at the picture until my eyes blurred, and at last the realization hit me. The crack Olivia referred to in her post was Christopher Evans, my Christopher, the boy I had loved for as long as I could remember. The comments under her post flooded in, people offering their opinions like casual spectators at a fight. Some sneered at parents who forced childhood bonds, calling it selfish to prioritize convenient social ties over a child's happiness. Others wrote that they would never go near a boy who had a so-called childhood sweetheart because such bonds were impossible to compete with. A few accused Olivia of being the third party. Wasn't Christopher already in a trial relationship with his longtime friend? If so, wouldn't that make her the interloper? Olivia responded to each one with a mixture of laughter and disdain. She said parents could love me all they wanted, but in the end, it didn't matter 'cause Christopher loved her. She wrote that calling me his childhood friend was already more respect than I deserved. She insisted that until marriage certificates were signed, no one had any claim to exclusivity. And then she twisted the knife, saying Christopher loved her more anyway. She posted a screenshot of their text messages. In it, Christopher had written, pretending to be casual that family gatherings didn't matter, and that he was only tagging along because his parents needed the numbers. Then Olivia wrote back that she was sitting alone at a shopping mall because she had a stomachache. His reply appeared instantly promising to rush over, telling her not to worry. Her caption was gloating. All she had to do was whisper his name, and Christopher would abandon everything to run to her. My stomach twisted when I saw the familiar nickname he used in those texts. To him, I was just the fallback, the experiment, the person he was trying out, while his real loyalty drifted toward her. I sat frozen until the buzz of my phone dragged me back. Christopher's name lit up the screen. His voice on the call was hurried. "Victoria, something came up. I can't make it to the gathering tonight. Could you come up with an excuse for me, tell the families I couldn't be there?" I was silent for a moment, then asked quietly, "And what excuse do you think I should give them?" He sighed, irritated. "Why are you making this so hard? Just tell them anything. I really can't go." "Don't worry, I'll go with you tomorrow." Then the line went dead. The silence that followed felt unbearable. For the first time, my heart did not pound with anger, but settled into an eerie calm. It was a frightening kind of stillness, as if the years of devotion had suddenly emptied out of me. I remembered the weeks after our college entrance exams, how I had spent half a month carefully planning my confession, rehearsing my words late into the night. When he finally said yes, I had been so giddy that I ran to tell my best friend, Tracy Johnson. But Tracy hadn't shared my joy. She frowned skeptical and told me that if I hadn't confessed first, no one would ever have known we were a couple. She pointed out that Christopher had never once made anything official, never posted about me, never given the world even the smallest sign. Out of curiosity, she pulled up his profile. She scrolled through photos of him playing basketball, hanging out with friends, posing at arcades and coffee shops. Then she stopped her finger hovering over a picture. "Do you know this girl?" she asked. "That's Olivia Harris, the new transfer student I told you about. She's everywhere in his feed. And you're nowhere." The words sliced through me like glass. I tried to smile, but it came out bitter. Everything Tracy said was true. He had made space for Olivia, framed her into his world, while I, the girl who had known him since childhood, was invisible. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, trying to reconcile the boy I had loved with the man who had written those messages, the one who rushed across the city for another girl while leaving me to cover for him. My chest ached with the weight of it all, with the cruel irony that the love I had cherished for a decade might mean nothing at all to him. I thought of our long walks along the Seattle waterfront, the summers spent watching the ferries leave the docks, the winters where we huddled together with hot chocolate, promising we would always be side by side. I thought of how he had said he would choose the University of Washington so we could stay close, how he had sworn we would face adulthood together. And now I realized that while I had been planning a future with him, he had already begun building a separate world with Olivia. It was the kind of pain that did not explode but seeped slowly, filling every corner of me with cold resignation. My hands trembled as I scrolled back through Olivia's post, rereading the cruel comments, the careless mockery of strangers who would never know how much their words hurt. I closed my phone and pressed it against my chest, whispering into the darkness, not even sure if I was asking him or myself, was I ever enough? The realization came like a blade sliding between my ribs. That girl in the picture, the one showing off the sneakers with little dragons curling toward each other in the shape of a heart, was Olivia Harris. It was her all along. I whispered his name under my breath. Christopher Evans, the boy who had grown up beside me on the Seattle waterfront, the boy I had trusted with every corner of my heart. If you never loved me, why didn't you just say so? Why did you take my feelings and turn them into some cruel joke? I wiped at my face, furious with myself for letting the tears fall, telling myself I had to keep calm, to hold on to the last shred of dignity. But when I opened the door to the banquet hall and felt every gaze turn toward me, my chest tightened so sharply I could barely breathe. I ducked my head, trying to hide the storm inside me, and slipped into the chair beside my mother. Across the room, Mrs. Evans looked restless. Her eyes kept darting toward the entrance, expecting to see her son appear at any moment. "Where's Christopher?" she asked suddenly, her voice edged with worry. "Didn't he say he would be coming with you, Victoria?" My mother turned to me surprised. "Yes, Victoria. Where is he?" "Weren't the two of you together?" I forced my tone into something neutral, calm enough to fool them, or so I hoped. "He told me something urgent came up, that he couldn't make it." "Auntie, Maybe you should call him. My phone's about to die." Mrs. Evans didn't hesitate. She pulled out her phone and began to dial. The hall hummed with conversation as she pressed the call button again and again, but each attempt ended the same way. No answer. Call after call went into the void until finally the line went dead. His phone switched off completely. I lowered my gaze to my lap, my hands clenched tight. A new notification blinked across Olivia's feed. She was updating her story again, smug as ever, writing that she had turned off his phone herself because his mother kept calling too much. I felt my stomach drop. Panic seeped into the edges of my mind. Mrs. Evans had long struggled with anxiety disorder, needing reassurance multiple times a day that her husband and son were safe. Christopher had never dared to turn his phone off, not even during school hours. I remembered how he had begged our teachers for special permission to carry his phone in class just so he could answer her calls. There was even a time when I borrowed his phone to play a game, drained the battery by accident, and though I rushed to plug it back in, he had snapped at me furious as though I had endangered something sacred. And now here he was shutting off his phone because Olivia asked him to. I looked up at Mrs. Evans, her hands trembling as she tried another call. Again, the mechanical voice answered coldly, informing her the number was unreachable. The color drained from her face. My lips twisted into a bitter smile I could not control. Christopher was a completely different person when it came to her. For me, every mistake was unforgivable. But for Olivia, even the most reckless act was acceptable. Mrs. Evans's anxiety grew with each failed attempt. Why was it ringing earlier, but now it's off? Could something have happened to him? Could he be hurt? Just then, Mr. Evans entered the room with my father, both carrying bottles of wine. The instant he saw his wife's face, he froze. "What's going on?" he asked, his voice tight. Mrs. Evans clutched his hand, her words spilling out too fast. "Christopher isn't answering. His phone is off. What if he's been in an accident? What if something terrible has happened?" Mr. Evans tried to soothe her. If there had been an accident, someone nearby would have answered the call. His phone probably died, or maybe he misplaced it. "Don't worry, we're buying him a new one before college anyway. Remember?" His tone was steady, but even I could see the tension in his eyes. For a brief moment, his reassurance seemed to calm her. But as the minutes dragged on, her hands fidgeted restlessly, and her eyes darted again and again toward the door. Half an hour passed with no sign of Christopher. At last, she stood abruptly. "I can't wait any longer. You all eat. I have to go home and check." My mother pushed back her chair, too. "Forget the food. I'll ask the staff to pack it up. Let's go see what's happening." In an instant, the banquet dissolved into anxious motion. My father and Mr. Evans hurried to get the cars. Mrs. Evans was already pulling her coat tight, moving as though her very breath depended on finding her son. I trailed behind, clutching my bag. My mind torn in two. Should I tell them the truth? Should I tell them he was with Olivia, that his silence was not an accident, but a choice? My steps faltered. I thought of Mrs. Evans's fragile health, the way even minor changes in routine could send her spiraling. Would the truth break her memories, surfaced unbidden? Back in high school, teachers used to pair students into study groups to help each other. When Christopher was assigned to work with another girl, Mrs. Evans had stormed into the school to demand a change. "Christopher is close to Victoria," she insisted. Why would you separate them? No amount of explanation about academic strengths could sway her. She wanted him next to me always. Now, years later, her son was slipping away from me in plain sight, and she didn't even know it. The weight of that irony pressed heavy on my chest as we stepped out into the night air. The city lights blurred through the tears I refused to let fall. I walked faster, almost running, as if movement alone could drown out the truth clawing at me. Christopher wasn't missing. He wasn't in danger. He had simply chosen Olivia over me, and now his parents were about to drive out into the night, chasing a son who no longer belonged to them the way they thought he did. And yet, I said nothing. My voice stuck in my throat as I followed them toward the cars, praying against reason that we would find him safe, that somehow this would all be nothing more than a misunderstanding. Deep down, though, I knew better. Trust had become a foreign word to me. I did not even trust Christopher's grandmother, the one who once let scalding water spill on his foot because she was careless. If family could fail you, how could I gamble on anyone else? The thought of it made me press my lips together. I dared not tell the truth, not when Mrs. Evans's fragile heart might shatter completely if she knew that Christopher had turned off his phone only because Olivia Harris wanted him to. I climbed into the back seat of Mr. Evans's sedan, the weight of silence pressing down on us. A call came through from the manager of the Evans apartment building. He confirmed Christopher had not come home. Security footage showed he had left 2 hours earlier. Mr. Evans, with hands tight on the steering wheel, spoke quickly into his phone with the state patrol. There had been 6 minor collisions that afternoon, they said, but none involved Christopher. Mrs. Evans clutched her purse, pulling her phone out, putting it back again, her fingers shaking. The tension built like a storm cloud. Then suddenly, Mr. Evans cursed the word sharp in the confined space. The car swerved violently to the right. My body slammed into Mrs. Evans, and before I could register what was happening, a deafening crash exploded around us. When sound began to filter back into my ears, I realized the world had turned upside down. Shattered glass glittered across the pavement. My head throbbed as I forced my eyes open. People were rushing toward us, their voices calling out. A woman's face appeared at the cracked window, her expression urgent but kind. "Don't be afraid, sweetheart. We're going to get you out." It felt like I had stepped into one of those viral short videos, the kind you scroll through late at night, never imagining you could live inside one. Strangers surrounded the wreck, pushing, straining to roll the vehicle upright, but the weight was too much. Someone shouted that we needed to break the glass to pull the passengers out before the electric car that had hit us caught fire. The ringing in my ears softened. My breath steadied enough for me to move. My hands fumbled at the seatbelt. Mrs. Evans was unconscious. My own mother slumped beside her. I gathered every ounce of strength and shoved at Mrs. Evans's body, easing her toward the rescuers outside. Hands reached in, lifting her carefully away. Then I turned to my mother. The seatbelt had locked tight across her chest. Panic surged through me as I clawed at the latch. The more I pulled, the tighter it seemed to hold. "Stay calm," the woman outside urged. "Loosen the shoulder strap first, then the lap. Guide it over her head slowly." Her voice anchored me. Trembling, I followed her instructions inch by inch until the belt gave way and my mother was freed. We were pulled out together into the humid night air. Strangers guided us onto the curb. My knees buckled, but arms steadied me, pressing a bottle of water to my lips. Just then, a shout rose above the noise. The driver of the electric car stumbled from his seat, dazed. Smoke poured from his vehicle, curling into the sky. "Get back!" someone yelled. "The cars are too close. They'll blow." And they did. Within minutes, fire leapt from the electric car to Mr. Evans's sedan. Twin explosions rocked the street waves of heat, scorching my skin even from a distance. The crowd scattered back voices, tumbling over one another. The kind woman pressed the water bottle into my hands again, speaking softly. "You're safe now. Everyone's out. The ambulance is coming." At Harborview Medical Center, the hours blurred together. My mother and Mrs. Evans regained consciousness quickly, their injuries mercifully minor. I had a few cuts and bruises, nothing more. But Mr. Evans remained in critical condition, rushed into emergency surgery. The doctors' faces were grave, their words careful. No one could promise anything. Mrs. Evans wept uncontrollably, clutching her phone as if it might suddenly ring with her son's voice. "Where is he? Where is Christopher? Why won't he answer me?" Her questions carved through the sterile air of the waiting room. I sat beside her, gripping her hand until my knuckles whitened, then slowly let go. I pulled out my own phone. Olivia's account glowed on the screen. She had updated again. Her words burned like acid. She boasted about confessing to Christopher, about how he had patted her head gently. She wrote about transferring schools in senior year, about liking him since the first moment she saw him, about how she had asked him whether he would study in the same city as her. She said she had always known he liked her back. The comments below were a chaos of excitement and envy. People congratulated her, teased her, claimed she had won. My throat closed. I typed a single line with shaking hands. "Tell Christopher to turn on his phone. His parents were in a car accident. His father is in critical care. He needs to come to Harborview now." The comment section exploded instantly. Is this real? Is that the childhood friend? How could this happen right after a love confession? Skepticism and gossip clashed in real time. I snapped a photo of the crash site, uploaded it with the hospital address, and added, "It's true. We are here. Tell him to come immediately." I pressed send only to watch the words dissolve into error. Message failed. Not delivered. My lips twisted into a broken smile, laughter catching in my throat. How bitter it was, how absurd, that even now I had to beg a crowd of strangers online to tell the boy I loved that his father was fighting for his life, and still my words could not reach him. I had already been blocked by Olivia Harris. Even if I wanted to message her, there was no way to break through. The doors of the operating room slammed open, and a doctor strode out speaking so quickly it was hard to keep up. "The patient has a perforated intestine. Digestive fluids have leaked into the abdominal cavity. We need to operate immediately. During surgery, part of the intestine may have to be removed. These are the risks. Please sign the consent form if you understand." Mrs. Evans went pale as chalk. Her lips trembled, no sound escaping. My parents rushed to her side, holding her upright. My father spoke urgently. "We'll sign. Give us the form." He pressed the pen into her hand, guiding her through each line as she scrawled her name, her hand shaking so violently the letters blurred. I let out a shaky breath I hadn't realized I was holding, then pulled out my phone and dialed one of Christopher's closest friends. The moment he picked up, I cut straight to the point. "You know Olivia Harris, don't you? Do you have her number?" There was a pause, then a short, nervous laugh. No, I don't have it. My patience snapped. Christopher's parents were in a car accident half an hour ago. His father is in surgery right now. If you don't want him to live with regret for the rest of his life, find Olivia. He's with her. His phone is off, but I know he's with her. There was silence, then a stammer. An accident, what? What accident? My voice cut sharp, deliberate. Interstate 5. 2 cars collided and exploded. It's already on the news. Use your head. Drag Christopher out of whatever haze she's wrapped him in. Don't wait until it's too late. I hung up before he could answer, my chest heaving. When I looked up, Mrs. Evans was staring at me, her eyes wide and haunted. Victoria, you said, what woman? Where is Christopher? My throat tightened. There was no way to hide anymore. Wordlessly, I pulled up Olivia's social media and handed her the phone. The posts blared across the screen. Olivia was still updating, still reveling in her triumph. She mocked the news of the accident, claiming it was a lie invented by some shameless childhood friend, desperate to pull Christopher away. She accused me of dragging his parents into my so-called scheme, writing that no one in their right mind would believe such a coincidence. Imagine confessing to someone she wrote, and suddenly his parents are in a crash. Some childhood sweethearts are really shameless. Lying to steal a man. The comments beneath laughed along with her, feeding her arrogance. Mrs. Evans's face twisted with rage. She surged to her feet, voice breaking into a furious scream. Who is this girl? Christopher lied about being busy so he could be with her. She grabbed my arm, shaking me. Her voice dropped low, seething. Why didn't you tell me sooner? If something happens to my husband, how will you answer for it? The dam inside me broke. Months of swallowed pain erupted in a rush of tears. Blame him then. Blame Christopher for being so blind, for indulging her until she thought she could control everything. If I hadn't stumbled across her post, would anyone know he was with her? If he hadn't let her touch his phone, would she dare to switch it off? When your family has rules against it, he knows better. He knows your condition. And still, he chose her. My voice cracked louder than I meant. My mother gave me a warning look, glancing at Mrs. Evans, but it was too late. She had heard every word. Mrs. Evans collapsed back onto the bench, her shoulders shaking. Her voice came out in fragments. Victoria's right. Christopher has been blinded by her. Blinded by her. My mother rubbed her back, whispering reassurances. Don't worry, the doctors will do everything they can for your husband. As for Christopher, he's still young. Mrs. Evans's cry tore through the waiting room. Young. He's 19. I knew something was wrong. After the college exams, he spent hours on the phone, snapping at me whenever I asked who it was. I thought when he started university, he and Victoria would look after each other, that nothing could come between them. But he didn't even show up tonight at the dinner our families planned together. And now his father lies on that table, and I can't even reach my own son. My mother opened her mouth, but the words stuck in her throat. The room hung heavy with grief. Then my phone buzzed. Christopher's friend was calling back, his voice urgent. Victoria Olivia isn't letting him pick up. But don't panic. I've called others to search. We'll find him. I slumped back into the hard hospital chair, exhausted. The hallway outside the operating room seemed endless. The ticking of the clock echoed in my ears. I bowed my head, scrolling through the feed again, watching Olivia's lies multiply. My eyes burned, but I couldn't stop. Each word was another knife, but I needed to see it. I needed to remember exactly what he had chosen when he chose her over me. Doubt began to ripple under Olivia Harris's post. People who had laughed with her earlier started questioning whether it was all too coincidental. This kind of accident, better to believe it's true than risk ignoring it, one classmate wrote. Another claimed to have just walked past Interstate 5 near the scene. They saw two families being pulled from wreckage, including a girl with blood on her shirt. The details lined up too neatly to dismiss. The comment thread exploded, growing by the second. Someone asked if anyone remembered my ID, noting that my comments had been deleted. I didn't hesitate. I screenshotted Olivia's page, added a photo of the blood staining my sleeve and the red glow above the operating room doors at Harborview, then posted a desperate note to my own feed urgent. If anyone can reach the girl posting about crack, tell her his father is in critical condition. He needs to come to the hospital now. My phone trembled in my hands as Mrs. Evans's eyes fixed on me. Her stare gave me strength. At this point, whether Christopher loved me or not, whether he was still infatuated with Olivia, none of it mattered anymore. What mattered was his father's life. Our classmates began tagging Olivia, directly urging her to stop. We're all from the same school. Relationships can wait, but his parents can't. Stop blocking his family's calls. They got in a wreck on their way home to check on him. The tide shifted fast. Strangers from across the internet spilled onto my profile, piecing the story together. Someone linked the timeline of the accident with the timestamp of Olivia's confession post. It matched exactly. Another wrote, "Before his phone shut off, his mom had called. Olivia admitted she turned it off because she thought Victoria was nagging. And when his best friend called, she cursed him too. Every detail matches. The second account is telling the truth." I exhaled shakily relief, flickering through me when suddenly an unfamiliar number flashed across my screen. I answered only to hear Olivia's voice sharp with fury. "You're manipulating public opinion to attack me, aren't you, Victoria Brooks? Christopher hasn't liked you in a long time. The one he likes now is me. You think you'll go to Boston with him for school? Dream on. He changed his application. He's coming with me to Shanghai." Her words blasted through the speaker, echoing across the hospital hallway. Heads turned. Mrs. Evans's face contorted. She lunged toward me, ripping the phone from my hand. "Who are you?" she shouted into the receiver. "Bring Christopher to me right now. If you don't, you'll regret it." Nurses hurried Ovi Erdinga to keep quiet in the sterile corridors. My parents dragged Mrs. Evans gently into a safer corner, trying to calm her trembling body. I clenched my fists, biting out each word. "Olivia, do you still not understand? This isn't a game. Christopher's parents were in an accident. His father might not survive." For a moment, silence hummed in my ear. I thought she had hung up. Then a faint, shaken voice broke through. Is that true?" Before I could respond, another voice overlapped Christopher's best friend, his tone urgent. "Victoria, we found him. We're on the way to the hospital. What's happening there?" My throat closed. Relief colliding with fresh grief, I forced my voice steady. "Just get here." Harborview Medical Center building. 1 first floor, emergency. 20 minutes later, the echo of running footsteps broke across the hallway. Christopher Evans appeared breathless, his friend on his heels. His clothes were uncreased, his face untouched by blood or dust, in jarring contrast to the bruises and torn sleeves of those who had been at the crash. He froze when he saw us lined up outside the operating room. Our faces weary, our bodies bandaged, Mrs. Evans collapsed against my mother's shoulder. His eyes flicked to the red light above the doors, blazing like a wound. "Dad." His whisper cracked. He staggered forward, then slowed, staring at the glowing sign, as if it might swallow him whole. Mrs. Evans erupted. All her grief, all her fear, all her rage coalesced in a single burst. She struck at him with both fists, tears streaming. "Do you see now? Your father is in there because of you. We called, and you let that girl shut your phone off." My mother pulled her back, murmuring soothing words, while Christopher stood stiff, absorbing every blow without protest. His friend moved to my side, speaking quickly. "I got 6 people to search." We tracked Olivia's location through her page and cornered him. At first, he wouldn't believe us, but then pictures of the accident hit the news. He saw his father's car and nearly fainted. I looked at Christopher then. For so long, he had been brilliant, the golden boy of Roosevelt High. Smart, confident, admired. And yet watching him now silent and broken, I felt nothing of that pride. Every choice he had made today, every blind indulgence in Olivia, every careless lie had led to this moment, and the image of the boy I had loved crumbled to dust before my eyes. The memories came back unbidden, tangled with the present. Since childhood, my parents had admired Christopher Evans for his intelligence, his composure, his ability to think 2 steps ahead. But once they realized I had feelings for him, my mother's voice shifted. "Stay friends," she had urged. "You're young. Love can wait until college. Meet other people. You may not feel the same later." I used to complain to my father that she was unpredictable, that she changed her mind too often. He would only smile, saying softly, "You'll understand someday. Adults don't look only at affection, they look at family, at character. Your mother doesn't want you to chain yourself to one tree too soon, because sometimes that tree grows crooked." Those words echoed now, as I watched Christopher stand frozen. His shoulders hunched as his mother's fists struck his chest. His face was pale, his eyes wet. Guilt and regret clashing in the silence. Was he trying to comfort her or himself? "Dad will be okay," he whispered brokenly. "Mrs." Evans sobbed harder, clinging to him, repeating, "Victoria left you a message online. Why didn't you believe her? Why didn't you trust her?" Christopher turned at last slowly, his gaze faltering toward me. His lips parted, then closed. When his eyes touched mine, they flinched away again. I thought, the words collapsed on his tongue, repeating until nothing more would come. Mrs. Evans leaned into him, her prayers tumbling incoherently. Desperation pouring out of her. Then I noticed movement down the corridor. A girl stood a few meters away, watching. She walked forward, her steps hesitant, but her eyes steady. Olivia Harris. Christopher stiffened as if sensing her before he saw her. His head jerked toward her, and her voice was soft, almost tender. "Christopher, how's your father?" "Is he okay?" All of us turned. The hallway froze. Christopher's expression flickered uneasy. He stepped toward her instinctively. "Olivia, why are you here, Mrs.?" Evan's body snapped upright. Recognition sharpened across her face like lightning. She surged between them, her voice cutting like a blade. "What's your name?" Olivia stayed silent. Mrs. Evans's glare deepened. "You're the one who called Victoria earlier, aren't you?" Olivia's eyes darted to Christopher, pleading silently for him to speak. But his mother was faster. She raised a hand to silence him. "I'm asking you, did you turn off Christopher's phone?" The weight of the question hung heavy. I knew where this was going. If she admitted it, a fight would explode, and Christopher's father was still in surgery. My mother's arm was wrapped in bandages, my father pacing just outside. I didn't want another battle here, not now. But Mrs. Evans read the truth in the silence in Olivia's evasive eyes, in the way Christopher shifted helplessly. Rage ripped through her. She shoved Olivia back, her voice rising to a roar that shook the walls. "Why did you come to see whether Christopher would let his father die for you, to watch this family fall apart because of you?" "Get out! Leave this hospital immediately!" She turned then, pointing a trembling finger straight at her son. "Victoria was right all along. You've been bewitched. Look around, Christopher. Where are you? You're standing in Harborview. Your father is fighting for his life because that girl switched off your phone. If you had answered, we wouldn't have panicked. We wouldn't have driven out desperate, and this accident wouldn't have happened. And now you bring her here into this hallway. Are you trying to kill us all?" Olivia recoiled, her face ashen, her body shrinking against the sterile wall. "No, it's not like that. I was only worried about Mr. Evans." Mrs. Evans laughed cold and cutting. "Who are you to call him Mr. Evans?" "Who are you?" "Olivia Harris." Everyone knows Christopher and Victoria grew up together, that they became a couple after high school. And you came from nowhere, a shameless girl barging into someone else's life. Olivia lifted her chin, then, though. Her voice shook. "Christopher, tell them. You said you didn't like her. You said." Mrs. Evans's laughter cracked again. "He doesn't like Victoria. And you think that means he likes you? Leave. My husband is still in surgery. We don't need your bad luck in this hallway. Go ruin some other family." Her fury flared higher, and she turned toward me, reaching as though to drag me into the confrontation. "Victoria, stand here with me. Let's see her deny it to your face." The world buzzed in my ears. My head pounded from the crash, from exhaustion, from grief. My mother winced, her injured arm trembling as she stepped forward quickly. "Enough," she said, her voice strained. "Victoria, take me home. My head is splitting. Daniel, stay with them. Help however you can." I swallowed hard, torn between duty and escape. Behind me, Olivia's eyes, still locked onto Christopher's, searching desperately for rescue. Christopher stood rooted, torn apart by his mother's rage and Olivia's silent plea. And I, caught in the middle, felt the last remnants of my childhood dreams crumble in that hospital corridor. Out in the cool night air of the hospital courtyard, my mother finally exhaled her fury. "Christopher is the one who made this mess. Why should you be the one to stand there and argue with that girl?" Her words cut sharp. Beside us, Christopher's best friend gave a long, pointed cough, and when I turned, I saw Christopher himself standing not far away, his face shadowed as though smeared with ash. He pretended not to hear, his posture rigid, his expression carefully blank. "Victoria," he said at last, his voice low. "Can we talk?" I squeezed my mother's hand lightly, signaling for her to trust me. Then I nodded. "Fine. We walked a short distance from the entrance, enough that the voices of our parents faded. Christopher stared at the ground, unable to meet my eyes. I waited. Then slowly, I opened my phone, pulling up Olivia's page. "Maybe it's fate," I said evenly. "I wasn't even looking for you." I just happened to scroll and saw this. He glanced at the screen, panic flashing across his face. "Victoria, it's not what you think. She's just a classmate." That day she called, she said her stomach hurt. She thought she would faint. I only went because I wanted to help. It was just friendship. My thumb tapped again, and the recording played. Olivia's voice filled the silence. "He likes me. He changed his college application. He wants to go to Shanghai with me." Christopher froze. His shoulders sagged as though a weight crushed him. I didn't let him look away. "And your mother heard it too when she called. So tell me, when your father survives this surgery, how exactly do you plan to explain to your family that you secretly changed the plan?" All four parents worked so hard on hiring experts, mapping everything out. His voice shook. "Victoria, I swear I love you. Truly. Don't you believe that? She depends on me too much. Senior year was pressure every day. With her joking teasing, it felt lighter somehow. I admit, changing my application was reckless, but my feelings for you are real. I'll prove it. I'll keep my distance from her. I'll even go to graduate school in Boston, anything to make it up to you. Please forgive me." I stood still, letting him pour it out, every plea, every excuse. Only when his words faltered did I shake my head. "Christopher, even if we weren't lovers, we've been friends since childhood. Our families have trusted each other for years. How could you reduce me to a safety net, a backup plan? An exit strategy when things with her get complicated?" My voice steadied, calm and clear. "Look at me. My parents raised me with everything they had. I choose a partner to make my life brighter, not to use my body as a bridge so someone else can walk across to glory. Do you understand?" Disappointment swelled in me, heavy as a stone. Years of friendship, years of affection, all shattered by his selfish choices. He thought words like "I was reckless" or "you're the one I truly love" could erase betrayal. If he had the courage to admit he loved Olivia, that he had been wrong to hide it, I might have still respected him. But instead, he cloaked himself in excuses, twisting my love, our friendship, into tools for his weakness. A laugh escaped me, sharp and bitter. I pointed at his shoes. "You're a coward. You had the guts to wear matching sneakers with her, but not the guts to admit what that means." The moment I saw them, my heart knew. Those painted dragons, no one paints them without meaning to match. I even searched online for the original image. The lines, the colors, everything identical. And tonight in that hallway, 4 shoes lined together, 1 pair, 2 people matching in every way. You thought I wouldn't notice? He flinched, his eyes widening. My voice hardened. "Christopher, between us, there is no future anymore. A few days from now, I'll return every gift you gave me. I expect you to do the same. Gather everything I ever gave you and make it disappear from your life, because that's what you are to me now gone." His head jerked up. Desperation breaking through. "I don't want that. Please." But I had already turned away. I felt as if someone had shoved a fistful of sand down my throat, choking me until I could barely speak. "You don't want that," I said coldly. "What right do you have to refuse every gift I gave you was mine? I don't need your permission to take them back. For the first time, Christopher truly faltered. His composure cracked his eyes wide with panic. Victoria, I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but please give me a chance. Just one chance to make it right. I was blinded, I admit it, but I'll prove myself. I'll show you with my actions. I turned away. My voice flat. There are no more chances. If you can't handle this with honesty, then leave it to our families to settle. At home, the silence between my mother and me pressed heavy. Finally, I rose and pulled a large plastic storage bin from the closet. One by one, I packed away everything Christopher had ever given me. There were so many small trinkets, books, notes, little tokens of years together. Half the bin was full already, and I hadn't touched the glass cabinet in the living room. By the time I pushed the heavy container into the hallway, the cabinet had been emptied too. My mother had already cleared it while I worked her face stern but proud. She tapped the lid of the bin and clapped her hands. Out with the old, in with the new. I snapped a photo of the pile, then posted a final update. I've left the hospital. The family is there now. All his gifts are packed away. From today on, we are finished. One bridge, two paths, no ties left. When I refreshed, my previous post had already gone viral. 40,000 views, 6,000 likes, 10,000 comments. And the flood only grew with this one. How's his dad? Did she delete her post? He wanted both, didn't he? Playing both sides. The comments swirled sharp and cruel. I pinned my own reply at the top. It's over. Don't worry. My mother leaned over my shoulder, reading aloud with a chuckle. Smart girl. College is where your real life begins. Let that fickle boy go. My father sipped his tea, nodding. Don't waste tears. Once you're in Boston or wherever your future takes you, there will be countless good men. Meet them. Date freely. The right one will prove himself. But my mother's anger simmered still. You saw it in that hospital, didn't you? Christopher and that girl weren't new. His parents knew. They hid it from us, let it fester. Did he think he could carry on in college and keep you in the dark? You did the right thing. Don't you dare soften. I cut her short gently. I know, Mom. He already changed his application. He's going to Shanghai. I'm headed to Boston. We'll be oceans apart. I gave a small shake of my phone. Besides, the whole class knows now. What face could he possibly show me again? My mother's smile stretched wide satisfaction, lighting her expression. That's my daughter, brave enough to walk away at the right time. Just then, my father's phone rang. His voice was weary when he returned. The surgery was successful. Mr. Evans pulled through. Relief rushed over us, but before we could breathe, his voice grew grim. But there's trouble. You need to come. Christopher and that girl fought. The police are involved. By evening, we were at the precinct, the neon lights buzzing overhead. My head pounded as the story came together. After we had left Harborview, Christopher had wandered back alone. He found his mother and Olivia locked in a screaming match outside the operating room. His mother was furious, sobbing, accusing Olivia of causing the accident. If not for her, your father wouldn't be on that table. I told her to leave, and she dared lecture me. Instead, Olivia had lifted her chin defiant. It wasn't me who crashed the cars. Bad luck isn't my fault. Mrs. Evans had slapped her again and again. Olivia, unaccustomed to such humiliation, lashed back, clawing and shoving. The hallway descended into chaos until security intervened. By then, Christopher had thrown himself between them, but it was too late. Both women were bruised, and the shouting echoed through the hospital like gunfire. The police had been called. Now, under the harsh white light of the station, the truth spilled out in fragments bitter and ugly. And I sat in silence, drained my heart, emptied long before this night had ended. Christopher lunged forward, trying desperately to separate them. Olivia's voice cut through the air, raw and shrill. Your parents only want you at a prestigious school so they can brag. They don't care what you truly want. With parents like that, why bother listening? Then she shoved Mrs. Evans hard. Already pushed to the edge, his mother stumbled, collapsed onto the cold hospital floor, and lay still. Mom. Christopher's cry broke. Terror exploded in his chest. Without thinking, he struck Olivia across the face. The blow sent her staggering back, her sobs breaking into silence. He bent down, lifting his unconscious mother, shouting for help. The commotion drew hospital security and police patrolling the gate. Within minutes, Christopher was restrained. Olivia clutching her cheek, tears streaming. By the time the full story reached me, I could only press my hands to my face. Exhaustion hollowing me out. My mother's voice was steady. Victoria. Both his parents are in the hospital. Sooner or later, you'll have to decide whether you want reconciliation or finality. Olivia snapped back bitterly, twisting her words. I know what you're doing. You just want to drive me away so your daughter can have him again. But he chose me. Don't think you can manipulate this. My mother rose to her feet, her gaze icy. You pushed his mother to the ground. She's still unconscious. Officer, I hope you'll open a case. Let the law decide who should be punished. The officer frowned, glaring at Olivia. You're barely 20. Don't you realize push people hard enough and they push back? Actions have consequences. 30 minutes later, after a fine was issued and damages paid, we were released. My mother hailed a cab. She turned to Christopher, who stood frozen near the steps, his face ashen. Your parents are awake. Go back and care for them. As for us, we're going home to rest. Don't mistake my silence as forgiveness, Christopher. I spared you tonight only because your father nearly died. Don't pretend we're the same as before. The next day, the internet detonated again. Screenshots of Olivia's posts, my updates, and news of the accident were spliced together into long analyses. At first, I thought it was another COVID-style hoax, but with hospital photos and blood-stained shirts, it's real. Others chimed in, I was there the whole time. Don't rush to pick sides. No one wins here. Still more cut sharper. Christopher ignored his parents for Olivia, and now look. Rumors spread that he had even tampered with his family car in rebellion. Private messages poured into my inbox, some offering sympathy, others pressing with half jokes. You're free now, Victoria. Consider me next. I tossed the phone aside, half laughing, half bitter. But even with his number blocked, Christopher's messages came daily through his father's phone. Victoria. I was wrong. I don't know why I made such a mistake. I regret everything. I don't expect you to forgive me quickly, but I can't give up. I told my parents I won't attend college this fall. I'll retake exams, apply to Boston next year, follow you there. My mother read the words, rolling her eyes so hard they nearly stuck. I should march over there and tell him to his face. Spare him the delusion. My father stopped her firmly. His father just came back from death's door. Let them manage their own shame. We won't stoop to argue. I clung to my mother's arm, half teasing, half sincere. "Don't worry, I won't soften. Not in this lifetime." The truth was long before this blow-up. I had felt the coldness creeping into Christopher's voice the way he hesitated, pulled away. My heart had prepared itself. The pain had been sharp but fleeting, washed away by the steady love of my parents, their gifts of comfort, a new phone, a laptop, a camera. Tokens of care that reminded me I was never alone. A week later, I boarded the train with them bound for Boston. The chatter about Christopher hadn't died down online. His family had become a cautionary tale. Mrs. Evans even called once her voice weary. "We can't leave the house anymore. People laugh. They call him a lovesick fool. Tell me, what am I supposed to say?" My mother offered no answer. After that, she stopped taking the calls altogether. "If it were me," she muttered, "I'd bury myself before I asked comfort from the girl my son betrayed." To distract her, my father returned home one day with 10 silk dresses, hanging them proudly in the closet. Slowly, the storm in our house quieted. A classmate later sent me a photo. Christopher thinner, hollow-eyed, sitting alone under the autumn sky. Regret etched across his face. Regret so deep it had wasted him from the inside. And yet, even as I looked at him, I felt nothing but distance. His story was no longer mine. My life was already on a train heading forward. I stared at his messages for a few seconds, then quietly added his number to the blocked list. The moment I did, my chest loosened. When I turned back, a senior volunteer was waiting with a welcoming smile. "Freshman orientation. What's your major?" I returned the smile with ease. First-year student school of New Energy Science and Engineering. My voice carried none of the tremor it once did. The past was over. A year later, Christopher retook his exams. Once he had ranked high enough for Oxford, this time he barely scraped into a second-tier university, a little-known 211 school in a city far from the spotlight. No more dazzling headlines, no more accolades. Just a quiet departure west, a faded echo of who he once was. Before leaving, he came to my building, waiting downstairs. My mother recounted it with laughter, as if it were a comedy. "I saw him blocking your path and nearly fainted from rage. Your father rushed down before I could storm out. That night, mosquitoes bit me all over. Still, he stood there, like some tragic hero, swearing he wouldn't let you down again. He thought anyone would still want to be dragged down by him. If your father hadn't stopped me, I'd have slapped him twice myself. Once he had declared he would follow Olivia to Shanghai. Then he promised to prove his love by chasing me instead. Yet when it mattered, he didn't fight." My father shook his head, half amused. "Young love, if it fits, stay. If not, part ways. Nothing unusual." But Olivia, she clung to him like it was life and death. She even showed up outside your building back then, pen in hand, waiting. Maybe they deserve each other. Meanwhile, my own life took a different shape. At university, I met someone steady, brilliant, kind. Together, we pursued graduate school at the same university, graduated, and joined a major firm side by side. By our second year of work, we earned nearly $1 million. In the second year, we married. Our families rented small apartments near ours, close enough for Sunday dinners and helping hands. Stability, warmth, a home that grew brighter with every season. Christopher, if not for the gossip that sometimes floated through our class group, would have vanished completely. But there were whispers that Olivia followed him west doggedly until she cornered him in a city too small for escape. His father, friends said, was nearly driven mad by her control, while Christopher himself attempted to take his life more than once under the suffocating weight of her obsession. His mother's health faltered too. Depression stole her clarity, leaving her medicated and diminished. Then one day, screenshots appeared in our alumni group. 2 red marriage certificates, Olivia smiling radiantly triumphant. Christopher beside her face, ashen, his eyes hollow, as though mourning his own existence. No one commented. By then, our group chat was filled with discussions of jobs, investments, children. Life had moved forward. Who had time to dwell on the fall of a boy we once thought would shine? Once a call reached me from a number in that western city. I answered, and silence filled the line, broken only by faint, stifled sobs. I didn't hesitate. I hung up. My husband and I were heading out to shop for a new phone. My future was too full to hold echoes of the past. Years later, my daughter played in the courtyard with 2 boys from the neighborhood. They had known each other since preschool, inseparable. One day, she lifted her chin solemn and certain and declared, "When I grow up, I'll marry both of them." My husband laughed nervously, crouching to explain sweetheart. "When you're older, you must see if they treat you well. That matters most." But my daughter waved him off with all the certainty in the world. "If I like them, I'll keep them. If I don't, I'll throw them away. It's like shoes, Daddy. If they don't fit you, don't wear them." I burst out laughing, ruffling her hair. "Exactly right. If you don't like them, you leave them behind." That's what life had taught me, that knowing when to cut your losses was not failure, but wisdom. Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next videos.